Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sunday, and of course, that means it's Soul Sunday. And I am Ruby D, the goddess entrepreneur. Good afternoon. And yeah, I went back to my protective style, but give me just a moment. I'm waiting for Allison so I can send her an invite because we definitely don't want to have the same technical difficulties that we were having last week and the week before that. There she is. So Allison, I'm sending you an invite right now. As soon as Facebook stopped tripping and let me. Allison, I'm gonna send it as soon as I hopefully we won't have this problem today. Okay, I've sent the invite. So while we're waiting for Allison to come on, LaJanae, what you can't see? You can't see me? But I'm waiting for Allison. I know we're not having these problems this week. And you know what? I'm not even surprised if we do have this problem this week, because for the last few weeks since it's been Mercury retrograde, Allison and I have had such a hard time doing these live videos. So at this point, we're not even surprised. So, oh, see, Tara, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know what's going on. Like right now, I'm trying to add Allison, and it's telling me I can't add her. I don't know what that is, but that's all right. I'm just gonna keep trying because eventually this gonna work. I know it's got to be 1 second during this time that Mercury retrograde falls off. Okay, Allison, trying to bring you on, but while I'm waiting for Allison, pretty much what we do every Sunday is Soul Sunday, where Allison and I talk about different topics. And today's topic, right, I see that. Today's topic is the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset. Last week, Allison and I discussed entrepreneurship and the chakras. And I felt like this week it was appropriate to move the conversation further and discuss the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset, because it is very much different. I myself, I've been a full-time entrepreneur almost 2 years now. And Allison, she just made the transition within the last few months. Allison, let me see if I can do this differently. What is this? I've invited her. I really do not want to start this live video over and go through this whole process again. But that's what it looks like I might have to do, because this is for the birds. I mean, once we get on, we good, but it's just getting started. Allison, let me try this again, because Allison, see if you have an invite from me, because I see the invite from you, but of course I'm getting the same message that there's no response from you, even though I know you looking at me and I know you watching, because we do this every Sunday. And this is just not cool. Not at all. Oh. See? Okay. Nah, Allison, it looked like I'm gonna have to start it over. This is some bull. This ain't even cool. This is not cool at all. So I'm gonna have to go live. It only took 20 minutes to do so. What the heck?
Hi, like it just came in. The invite just came.
Girl, some bull. Like,
The invite just came. I'm like, 5 minutes, Facebook, really?
right. Like, but
It
okay,
did
since
say that.
Allison is here, we're gonna go ahead and get started because we honestly don't know
Yes,
how long we got for the
this is
Facebook
true.
decide. So, welcome to Soul Sunday. I am Ruby D, the Goddess Entrepreneur, author of the Goddess Grind book series, which focuses on becoming the best version of you in order to manifest the best life for you. I'm a speaker. Hey, Cassandra, and thank you everybody for tuning in and for watching. I know it took a little time for Allison to get on, but if you saw it the last few weeks, then you understand the trouble that we've been having with these live streams for the last few weeks. So we appreciate you
Yes.
still being here with us.
Mm-hmm.
But speaker, author, entrepreneur. I'm home full time. I like long walks in the park. Now let me stop. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet because we got a great topic today, and I don't want to take up too much time in the introduction. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Allison go.
Well, peace and blessings, everybody. This is Allison, representing Be Still and Move, the child company of the HDL Group, my 501c3 nonprofit. We are designed to help you heal, grow, and live beyond that relationship status by becoming better, not bitter, and enjoying your life along the journey. I am a speaker, a teacher, a budding author, business owner, and as Ruby mentioned a few minutes ago, I have gone full time into entrepreneurship, and so I'm really excited about today's topic so that we can dig a little more deeply
Yeah.
into what it means to develop the mindset that you need, because it is really no joke, y'all. It is really no joke.
Not at all. And if you're already an entrepreneur, you already know.
Yes.
If you're not yet an entrepreneur and you kind of transitioning, you really don't know because this particular mindset you don't get until
Right.
you in it. You think
Exactly.
you're ready, but you have no idea.
Not until
A
you're in.
quick background about me. Of course, I made the transition May 2016, so it's been almost 2 years. Um, I was working for a global telecommunications company um, and small business sales and service. So I was receiving an hourly wage plus commission plus weekly bonuses and whatnot. And, I was let me just say I was well over, making well over 50K, a year. And of course, most people, would think, oh, well, that's good. I mean, I don't have any kids. I don't have a husband. It was just me. What is the problem? Um, it's just that ever since I graduated from college, I've always had a business on the side because I've always known that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's just figuring out the right time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, I left that company right before I hit 2 years. I already knew once I started the job that I wasn't going to be there. And, from the day that I got there, I was pretty much just preparing to make the transition. Prior to that, at the previous job that I had, before that one, I was a licensed insurance agent. I was, of course, getting hourly plus commission. Um, was making a good amount of money, but during that period of time, I decided to go to school, get my aesthetics license, and that's what led me to start the my skincare company, which was Artistics Natural Body Care, which I recently closed for, reasons I wanted to pursue something else. But that me starting that company helped me to make the transition to full entrepreneurship. And, that's pretty much the background or the backstory to my transition. So I'm going to go ahead and let Allison share hers.
All right. Before I get started, special shout out to Tara. Thank you for watching. Miss
Yes.
Cassandra, Richard, Reginald, Randy, Tank, Xavier, Javier. I'm not sure. I know people who pronounce it both ways. What's up, Rob? And what's up, Zeus? James and Latasha. What's up, hometown? So so mine was a little bit different. So Ruby always knew that she wanted to become an entrepreneur. I didn't have the desire at all. What happened with me, I found while I was in college that I had a gift for corporate training. And that's literally what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a corporate trainer. And that's what I've been for the last 15 to 16 years. I've been a corporate trainer. I've trained in several industries: insurance, communications, entertainment, healthcare, and most recently for IT. And so I enjoyed the ability to take what I learned and be able to teach it in a way that people of various learning backgrounds can understand it and master it. Carved out a pretty successful career. Several of the people that I personally trained went on to management positions and several promotions, and went out to be the top producers in their respective groups or departments. And so I was pretty cool with that. But what happened is sometimes, the universe will step in and say, okay, you've been doing your thing, but let me show you what you're here for. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happened with me is when I moved to Texas, or even before that, I always seemed to end up with people younger than me. They would usually be in their late teens, early to mid 20s, and just needed assistance. They may have something that was going on personally with life, um, different things. And while I was always able to maintain my integrity with my job, meaning not do things that would put my job in jeopardy, I did also learn how to play the system. And so there were people who,
Mm-hmm.
by default, probably should have lost their jobs because of the very strict policies that we had. And I was able to use those policies in my favor as well as theirs so that they could get that break that they needed. I always seem to run into, younger kids who just, they didn't know how to operate in a corporate world. They didn't understand the difference between a true emergency and them just being immature and irresponsible. But I was gifted with the ability to first get and earn their respect, and secondly, to teach them how to work in a corporate environment. And I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that. But what happened, of course, you guys know my background with the domestic attack back in 2008, and then me dealing with a narcissist when I moved to Texas. So as I started to do those things, I found that I was now running into people on the street and people that I didn't know, who just felt drawn to talk to me about their problems. And I found that I began to develop a passion for it, which is why Be Still and Move was created. And then I decided I wanted to go a step further and create a nonprofit. What I found out, however, is when the universe wants you to move, things begin to be pushed in a direction where you don't have a choice but to move. So,
Mm-hmm.
as the passion that I had developed for building this organization, going on to actually speak to women and men and children and teens about how to have self love, how to self reflect, how to learn how to, call yourself out. Sometimes we have a problem saying, this was my fault, this was my doing. But as I began a passion for that, I ended up running into this last position, which will be a great fit for someone, but was not a good fit for me. And so I learned what people meant by never taking a job for money. I was sneezing at six figures. That's why I took the job. And I had 3 days off, or 3 days that I could work from home. By most standards, I had arrived, but it was not a good fit for me. And so by trying to hold on to the job because of what it allowed in terms of materialistic things and financial things,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to move into a nicer place and get a nicer car, and all of those things that tell you you made it. The cost for me was that I was spending several days, 10 to 12 hours, trying to stay focused, trying to make the job okay. But it was affecting my health. It was affecting my relationship with my son, in the sense that I was always either sleepy or cranky, didn't have enough time to do this or that. And the dream that I had was constantly being put on hold because I just lacked the energy to do anything meaningful with it when I got off work. And so it got to the point where every day felt like Groundhog Day. Okay, when I get off work, I'm going to hang out with my son, and then I'm going to stay up until 2 and work on my dream. And by 10, I was exhausted. And so it just kept happening over and over. And so finally, the beginning of this year, I was listening to some YouTube videos, ran into a couple of people on those videos who went through the exact same situation that I was going through. and
Mm-hmm.
their experiences of how they quit their jobs. They didn't have a lot saved up. They, we'll talk about that later on. Didn't have a lot saved up, didn't, but they knew that if they didn't do it, they weren't going to do it. And so February 9th was my last day with the company. So tomorrow, as a matter of fact, will be 2 full months that I have been an entrepreneur, and it has definitely been an experience. Yes, it has definitely been an experience, but I'm glad that I've done it. So that's my backstory.
Okay, so talking about this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, of course, when we think about mindset, I Googled the definition of mindset and I wrote down a couple. The first being the established set of attitudes held by someone or a fixed state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when we talk about an employee mindset versus an entrepreneur mindset, basically we're talking about, like I said, well, like I read, a fixed state of mind. When you are an employee, then that's pretty much where your mindset is. And when you're an entrepreneur, that's mainly where your mindset is. That's not to say that's the only place it is, because of course there are employees that have businesses on the side, or they have, several other streams of income that they work with. But until you actually become an entrepreneur, you may not see the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, also keep in mind that when you consider mindset, your mindset includes your thoughts, your ideologies, your decision making, and from that, then that, dictates your behaviors. So, of course, if you're working at a job, then your mindset is focused on getting up early in the morning. Okay, I have to go to work because I have to, make sure that I'm continuing to make this money, because I can't take the day off, because if I take a day off, then I don't work. So I have to keep going to work in order to get this paycheck, whether it be weekly, bi-weekly, or once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're always going to have this check coming in, then you're always pushed to get up in the morning and go to work, which there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason you get up and do this is because you're thinking from the mindset of an employee.
Yeah.
You have to work in order to get this money. You have to work in order to get this check. You have to put in these hours. You have to get in your car and travel to this place. Whereas from an entrepreneur, the mindset of an entrepreneur is like, yes, you still have to work to get money, but you can work. Just think about it. If you were an employee and you went to work and you didn't know if you were going to get paid for that time, then how would you really feel about going to work?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas as an entrepreneur, you still have to go to work because you still have stuff you have to pay. You still have to bring in money, but there's no guarantee that in 2 weeks you're going to get all of that back.
Yeah.
And it's just like, some people, of course, question us entrepreneurs like, why would you do that? Like, so you're going to work and in 2 weeks you don't know if you're going to get paid or not. So you're going to work, and if you do get paid, you have no idea how much you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to keep doing this.
Yep.
So your rent is due,
Mm-hmm.
but you ain't got no money because you working from home full time, and you don't know where the money is going to come from. You don't know when it's going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure y'all starting to see, or some of y'all already know, the difference between the type of mindset you have to have. Because some people are so, like Allison said, um once she got to a particular, I just lost my whole thought. Oh, once she got this last job and she was making X amount of money, people would think that she's gotten to the point where she's made it. But she hadn't really made it. And I forgot the other part of that thought will have to come to me, because I completely forgot. I don't know where it went. But anyway, I'll come back to that. But the whole point is, um once you start working and you have these things that you have to pay for, then it's like you're really just working to pay for these things because you're like, okay, now that I make more money, I can get a bigger house. No, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Or now that I'm making more money, I could get a nicer car.
Mm-hmm.
No, why would you do that? When the car that you have works perfectly fine, when the place that you live, you love living there, but it's just simply because you're making more money, you want more.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of an employee thought process, not an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because as an entrepreneur, it's just like, just because I have the money to spend on a bigger place doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do that.
Yeah.
So give me a moment just so I gather my whole thoughts. Well, all of my thoughts, and I'm gonna let Allison chime in. I'm so sorry, I have no idea where that thought went, but I'm gonna find it. So Allison, you know me.
All right. Well, shout out to Misha. Happy Soul Sunday to you too. When I saw what you said about currently having to dodge those questions, we feel you. We really do.
Mhm.
And what's up to Derek? How you doing, bro? And LaKenny, thank you so much. What's up, Quincy? And yeah, so let me go ahead and answer. I'll go with where Ruby was. So with this mindset, the first thing that I'm learning that you have to do, which is, why I'm glad that I did it when I did it. A lot of times you have to understand that the employee mindset is one of, and I think I said this last week, but it's one of consumerism. The employee mindset is, I make money, I spend it. I work a job so that I can buy the things I want. I work a job so that I can pay for the things I need to pay for. But the mindset is basically consumerism. If you get into a job, say at 22, it's the job that you love. Most people don't do this now, but let's just say that you enjoy the job and you stay for 40 years. For 40 years, you're basically taught, unless you decide to take the effort to learn something different, you're taught to keep your credit right, put money in the bank, get your 401k, and you just go on with the rest of your life. You can buy clothes, you can go on trips, you can have an annual vacation, whatever. And there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. But the issue is that when you decide to become an entrepreneur, when you decide that you want to own your own business, when you decide that you want to do it full time, you cannot be successful with that same mindset. And that's one of the
Mhm.
biggest things that has to be adjusted. If you really pay attention to, let's say, Warren Buffett, everybody knows who Warren Buffett is. We listen to everything that he has to say, but very few of us are willing to do what Warren Buffett did. Warren Buffett bought a house in the 60s that he's still living in now. I'm sure it's been upgraded. I'm sure it's been remodeled, but I could be wrong. He may have decided the way it was in 60 something is exactly the way it needs to be now, but he hasn't deviated from those things. Now, of course, he
Mhm.
started learning about investing in things at 11, so some of us are beyond that, and we can't necessarily uh, recapture or duplicate what he did to that extent. But there are some very key things that we have to notice between those who have been successful entrepreneurs and those who have an employee mindset. Entrepreneurs take risks. Now, there are some
Mhm.
who have taken it and they've, bumped their heads a little bit. We have Elon Musk in the news right now. People are saying that, Tesla's not necessarily going in the right direction, but he took a risk. And we have, even Walt Disney. Walt Disney, I believe I heard he filed for bankruptcy 3 times and had no filed for bankruptcy 7 times and had 3 separate nervous breakdowns before he made it. Entrepreneurs take risks. They know that they still have the
Mhm.
same bills due. They know that they still have to keep a roof over their head. They still have to eat. They know that, but their desire to just do something meaningful supersedes even what they are supposed, quote unquote, to think about. And we're the benefit of that. I'm sitting here now
Mhm.
doing this live from an iPad. Steve Jobs left school. Bill Gates dropped out of school. Michael Dell
Mhm.
dropped out of school. And they have continued to flourish because their vision was so much more passionate to them than just doing what they considered to be status quo. And so you
Right.
have to get to the point where you understand being an entrepreneur, You are going to have built-in disappointment. You're going to have built-in failure. You're going to have built-in situations where the money is not there. You're going to have built-in situations where you have people who think that you're crazy. And I've heard that, I've heard that from people that love me. So, I mean, there's no hard feelings, but you have to understand that when people don't have your dream, they're not going to always see the path that you have to walk to get there. All they're going to see is, I love you and I want you to be safe and secure. And right now you're not. And so I've heard that, girl, you were almost at six figures. Just go back and get a job. No, because that's not where I'm at. That's not the opportunity that I've been presented. And it doesn't matter how much money you save. And hopefully I'm not stepping on Ruby's toes because she talks about this quite a bit. The only thing that you do when you save, let's just say you decide you want to save a year of expenses before you quit your job. It's just been my experience. All you do by saving up for a year is give yourself another year to not go hard at your job. That's all you do. Because you know the rent money is in the bank. You know the power bill is in the bank. You know the car payment, you know all of that is in the bank. And regardless of what people say, knowing that you have that type of cushion, it does not cause you to hit the ground running like you do when you were in, say, my situation where you were planning to use your 401k, and then due to a waiting period you were unaware of, by the time you could take the 401k out, it took a major hit. Yay me. And so, yeah, most people have been like, I lost too much money. I'm just gonna, no, I decided, nope, this is my first obstacle. I'm just going to have to suck it up and go through it. And so, but it does cause you to hit the ground running, because you know that if you don't make money that day, you're not getting paid. The 15th and the last of the month no longer matter to me. Every other Friday no longer matter to me. Getting paid a week, whoopee, that doesn't matter to me, because if I don't get up and do it, it doesn't matter what the day of the week is, I'm not getting any money. And so that is what causes you to move and think and listen faster and reply faster and respond faster. And it increases what you think you don't have. You learn how to sell real quick when you know you have something due. You learn how to sell real quick. You learn how to jump on opportunities instead of trying to think them through. You learn all of that really quick, but that is all part of leaving the employee mindset of consumerism and going into the entrepreneur mindset of investing and saving and holding. Those are the two biggest differences to me. So that's all I got.
And while she's on the subject of money, then we're going to talk about the financial differences between the employee mindset and the entrepreneur mindset. So, of course, as an employee, because you have money coming in on these set dates or these set preset time periods, you know exactly what you get in, what's coming out on this date, what you got to pay here and there. So if you're somewhere shopping and you want to impulse buy, then you're more apt to go ahead and buy it because you know you have more money coming in on this particular date. You're not as conscious of how much you're spending because you know that money is going to be replaced. All you have to do is get up and go to work. And when you do that, then you actually spend more money than what you're actually saving. And now these are not absolute statements. So we don't need nobody coming over here, well, I'm this and blah, 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 and I do this. Cool. We not talking to you. We not talking about you. We talking about some other people. But that's what you do. So you're more apt to spend money when you really don't need to spend it, but it's okay because you know you have more coming in. But as an entrepreneur, it's been plenty of times, and I, talked about this on the last live, where if I only brought in $25 that day, then my spending limit is $25 that day. I might have to do several things that day, but guess what? I'm going to make that $25 work. So if I happen to be in the hair store or in any store and I see something I like, and I'm like, oh, I like that. I got $25. If it's $10.99, okay, let me pick that up. Do I go buy it? No. What I do is walk around the store, a good 10. It may not even take 10 minutes. It may take 2 minutes. I'm like, you know what? I don't need that. Let me put that back.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't buy it simply because I got another check coming in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
take more time to think, do I really need this? Do I really want this? Am I only picking it up because I think it's cute? I
Mm-hmm.
don't have money to be wasting like that. I don't have money to be throwing away like that. You know what? I could probably utilize that money somewhere else in my business. I need some more business cards. You know what? I'm gonna put this back and spend that money on those business cards that I need.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing when it comes to a financial mindset, the difference between employee and the difference between entrepreneur. As an employee, like Allison said, it's more based in consumerism. It's like, now that you have the money, what can I buy? But as an entrepreneur, you're like, okay, now that I have the money, where does this need to go? Back into my business. Where, does this need to go to improve my business? It may be personal development, it may be business development, it may be some more business cards, it may be um a vendor event, or you just never know. But instead of you going out to spend your money on at Walmart or at the mall or something like that, you're putting that money back into your business. And that's why I say, depending on your mindset, that includes your thoughts, your decision making, your ideologies. Because of course, when we were little, we were told to, of course, go to school and then get a degree and then get a good job and then work at that job for the rest of our lives until we were able to retire, and then spend the money on traveling and whatever else that we want to do, and this and this and that. But nobody said become an entrepreneur so you can learn about investing, so you can learn about finance, so you can learn about banking, so you can
Mm-hmm.
learn where your money going every time you direct deposit it every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what the bank is doing with your money?
Mm-hmm.
You have this savings account that you have to put money into however often you put it in there. But depending on how much you put in there, the interest rate might be trash.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time the end of the year rolls around and you think you saved up something, guess what? Now you got an emergency that you have to pay for because you went out and bought these earrings when you felt like it. You bought that, you ate out because you felt like it. You decided, oh, for my birthday, I'm gonna turn extra up. And what? Where did the money go? You spent it. That's what you did. You spent it. But as an employee, as an entrepreneur, you become so conscious of every single dollar and every single cent that you have. And you just don't have time to be spending money and wasting. Let me not say waste. Let me just say spending money on frivolous things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and this is kind of a side note to this. Um, Sometimes I think when you start a job and you're like, okay, I have my nice little 1 bedroom apartment and I have my nice little, whatever car you driving. And then you get a raise and you're like, okay, I got a little bit more money. Okay. And then you start thinking of more stuff that you can actually buy. And it's like, so you're pretty much just working to make money to buy more stuff. So I'm just going to leave it there. And I'm going to let Allison go ahead and talk.
The biggest thing financially when you're developing this entrepreneur mindset is you learn the word no and wait really, really quickly. And you learn that they're not bad words. And when I speak about consumerism, I come from the standpoint of, I've been in companies where, and I think I shared this on a previous video too, I've been in companies where on payday we actually turned our multi-purpose rooms into vendor space. So the days that you got paid, you had people ready to detail your car outside. You had people inside who had handbags and incense and jewelry and clothing and scarves and essential oils. Well, I'll scratch the essential oils part because that's pretty necessary. But but my point is, Whereas the company, as an employee, you think that that is a perk. You do believe that's a benefit because you have the consumerism mindset. But when you're thinking as an entrepreneur, I can look back on those moments and say, you set things up for me to use my money before I even got a chance to get home and figure out what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because every place was also set up, because of course, you know, we have direct deposit. Every place was set up where they would take your card. So you didn't even have to think about what you needed to do. You didn't have to write it down. And that's that mindset that they want to keep before employees, because it's designed to be a trap. It's designed to be a trap to keep you wanting to make more money so that you can buy more things. And so one of the things that I've learned as an entrepreneur is that you do learn the value of the word no. Now, luckily, I learned that prior to leaving this last job, but it is more real because of the fact, like Ruby said, you know, if all I've made today is $25, that's all I'm spending. No, there's no more coming. I can't outspend bad behavior. And that's one of the things that I did once upon a time. I'll just share this. My grocery budget previously, just for me and my son, was $100 a week. And I had trouble staying at $100 a week. Now, some of it was because, yes, I decided I wanted to get everything from Whole Foods, and I had to have organic this and alkaline that. And yes, some of that was the problem. But a lot of it was I was really careless. I would write a grocery list, but if I saw something that I forgot or something that I thought I might want to have down the line, even though I didn't write it down, I would buy it. If I had nights where I had a fridge full of food and a pantry full of food, but again, coming from a job that drained me, didn't feel like cooking, I pick it up. It's over budget. I'll make it up next time. I'll make it up with the next check. Well, the next check doesn't come unless I make money. And so what I've done now, because, you know, God, most of you who follow me also know that I have a financial education group and a financial business that I'm really, really passionate about. And, you know, this is a side note to some of you. Some of the hardships you're going through as entrepreneurs right now is because you're having to learn how to make yourself more marketable. And one of the best ways to make yourself more marketable is you go through the tests first, you pass them, and then you can charge people to show them how to get through their own test. So as I talk about, you know, financial education, I'm able to get to a point where I see that these are tests, but I'm gaining all this knowledge that I can help other people. So now, grocery budget has been between $30 and $40 a week. We're not hungry. We're not going without. There are certain things that we're not getting, but I notice we're also not dying because we don't have them. And I have been so firm on it that this past week I went grocery shopping. I actually spent $51 and I felt bad. Now keep in mind, 3 months ago, I couldn't stay at $100 a week. I felt bad. When it got to 51, I actually said stop, and I told her not to even bring up the other things that I had bought.
You know, I don't need that. I'm good with this right here. I got this.
I've been seeing 3 and 4 for 2 months, and that says 5, and I know it's not going to go up to 6. But what it's doing is training me. What do you really need, Allison, versus what you thought you needed? What do you really need to do versus what you thought you needed to do? And so that's one of the biggest things that I think you have to learn as you develop this new entrepreneurial mindset. You have to remember that the financial piece is going to be your biggest accomplishment or your biggest downfall. You will have to downsize. You will.
Yes.
You will. There are areas where I downsize. Now, in some areas, I did it prior to leaving the job. I downsized my car. I went from German, and if you know Allison, if it's Audi or Volkswagen, Allison's there every day. I love German engineering. I downsized and I got my first American car in 13 years. I did because, you know, every little bit helps. German engineering, you have to use 93. People think that's not a big deal, but when you add that up over the year versus backing it up to 87, you save some money. and the gas is better. The maintenance won't be as much. Oil changes won't be as much. All of those little things add up. And so I downsized there. I've learned to do without other things. If I have to alternate between, I still try to make sure I get my nails done just because of the fact that I use my hands so much. So I still make the effort to do that. But if I have to stretch it out, I stretch it out. My apartment, that's another area. I may have to downsize, but what it's teaching me is what I actually need and what I can actually be happy with. And it's not about how many windows or how many floors, or it's not about that. Is it safe and is it clean? Is it safe and is it clean? Because here's the thing, when you become an entrepreneur, and I'll stop here. I know I've been talking a while, but I'm just so passionate about this. When you become an entrepreneur, what you have to understand is you are not taking a step back. You're starting over at a higher level. And I want people to really understand that. I left a job almost making six figures. Some people would think I've taken a step back, but I haven't. I'm working for Allison now. I'm able to put all of that energy that I put into a job that I knew wasn't for me. I'm able to put that into homeschooling my son. I'm able to put that into learning more about finances and helping other people. I'm able to do all those things. So I haven't taken a step back. I have elevated to another level, but now I'm starting over at that level by learning how to get to the next one. And so remember that if you have to give up something that you really worked hard for, or you thought you had to have, you've been promoted. When you've been promoted, you got to learn at that new level. So just look at it that way. That's all it is. I'm done.
Yes. Like I be telling people all the time, I saved 20% by switching to entrepreneurship.
Come on.
Do you know how much gas I ain't got to pay for? Do you know how much car maintenance I ain't got to pay for? Do you know how much you get rid of by not having to drive to work, to drive to a job?
Man.
Y'all, I need y'all to realize some of y'all, the only reason y'all got a car is to go to work. Think about that. If it wasn't for the job, you would not have the car.
That's true. You would.
But we're going to come back to that financial. Oh, I know what I wanted to say about the financial part. When Allison, yes, of course, like I told her when I left my job, excuse me, when I left my job, I didn't have any money saved up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knocking anybody that does have the money saved up. We're not saying you shouldn't get a business loan. We're not saying that you shouldn't seek investors. We're not saying that you shouldn't do other things. But I'm just saying when you start with no money or very little money, do you know how creative you get? Do you know how you learn how to think outside the box?
Yep.
Do you know how many mistakes not having any money can keep you from making?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You ain't out here just spending the money because you think it's a good idea because you have the money. Because if you ain't got it, you can't spend it.
Mm-mm.
And if you can't spend it, then that's one less mistake that you're going to make.
Yep.
I'm just saying. Y'all might want to consider that.
That's the truth.
But we're going to move on from, a little bit from the financial part to ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like I said earlier, of course, we were raised to go to school, to get a job, and blah, blah, blah. And then when you done that and you decide, well, this is not really for me, and you're like only one of two people out of your whole family that decides to take on entrepreneurship, you're going to have to start opening your mind, accepting new ideas, trying new things, looking at things differently, because as an employee, your mind is basically set to focus on this job description. This is what you do when you come to work. We need you to do this and go home. Mm-hmm. We don't care if you're sick when you do it. We don't care if your voice is gone when you do it. As long as you do this, so I can pay you this amount of money and then you can go home. But as an entrepreneur, it's just like, okay, I tried this today and I've been trying this for the last few months. That didn't quite work out, so I need to switch up somewhere and try something else because this ain't making me no money, but maybe something else will.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to understand that when your mindset starts to change, that does not mean everybody else's mindset changes about you.
Yeah.
Because when certain situations happen, if you go to somebody else that's working a job, the first thing they're going to say is, why don't you go back to work? Why don't you go get a job? They're not going to offer you any solutions to help you in your entrepreneurship situation.
Yeah.
That's not their mindset. And yours is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to seek out individuals that have that same mindset that you have. And in doing that, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having people in your family that still work and not going to them about financial or just being able to go to them, period.
Right.
It's just that you have to understand that as an entrepreneur, a lot of people are just not going to get it. And thank you everybody for watching. I know me and Allison just talking because we just got a lot to say about this. But today on Soul Sunday, we're discussing the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset. And right now, we just talked about some financial differences, and now we're talking about some differences in thinking and ideology and stuff like that. But you just, your mind just goes so far beyond what it was as an employee. Like, I remember I posted a status. It may have been a couple years now, maybe not that long, but pretty much the status said, um, I don't remember exactly what it said, but the purpose of the status was to say, you don't, when you're a when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you don't think about the employee's survival. Your survival comes first. And of course, I didn't post the reason I posted that, but the thought behind it was from an entrepreneur's mindset. Of course, those that are, stuck in consumerism and more so employees, they were like, well, no, the customer has to come first, and you have to worry about what the customer wants and blah blah, this and this and that. And it's just like, no, if you were a business owner and you were always concerned about what the customer wanted, you wouldn't make no money. You would be giving all your stuff away for free. You would be underpricing your stuff, and then your business wouldn't last. And guess who's gonna be out on the street? You, not your customer. And that's what I'm saying when I say that sometimes as an employee, you just won't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the status that a lot of people just were not getting. And it was cool. I understood that because it wasn't meant for them to get.
Yeah.
But those who know me, who knew what I was doing about my transition and how I think, completely understood where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and let Allison chime in on that.
Okay. Shout out to Blakely, to Robin. Tamisha has some comments. You learn how to be resourceful. Yes, you do. I think that was from my last segment. What's up to Fletcher and Marcus? And what's up, Tate? I knew you were going to be here eventually.
Yes.
Let's see here. Great mind shift. Thank you, Tamisha. I do feel much lighter. You're absolutely right. Even with the new challenges and obstacles, I have the energy to face them because I'm not putting them into an area that's not for me. Yeah, higher level. Thank you, Tate. Great mindset. Let's see here. A car to go to the double. Really, Tate? I knew you were going to start soon. I knew it. What's up, Tony? Ebony, peace and blessings. And yes, you're right. A lot of the times, Tamisha, that is all the encouragement people think to give. Well, you should just go back to work, and you should just go back and do this. And so that leads into my ideology. The ideology and the thinking that will also sometimes change is your definition and your perception of certain mindsets. And so for me, and Ruby and I have talked extensively about this offline, one of the biggest things that I've had to learn is what the real meaning of independent means versus asking for help. So I've been a single mother now almost 10 years. Yeah, if I'm not married by August, I've been a single mother for 10 years. And so one of the things that have happened though is as I went through that, and those of you who have been my supporters for a long time, you know, that the first year after that attack was all, I call it hell year, because I went through everything. For those who don't remember, 2008, 2009 was also when the recession hit. So I couldn't have been attacked at a worse time. So not only was I getting over the fact that I was now getting a divorce because of what happened, but I was also a new homeowner. My home had been annexed. The 10 days that I was in the hospital, my home had been annexed from the county to the city. My property taxes went up. My mortgage had been sold to the one bank that I never, ever want to do business with. And then the recession hit, and I was laid off 3 months after I got back to work. And so in that time frame, you learn really quick about survival instincts and things like that. And so when my back has been really, really, really against the wall, or when there's something I've really needed my son to have, yes, I've had people that I can call, but for the most part, I've been used to just figuring it out and doing it myself. And one of the things that me becoming an entrepreneur is doing is tempering that mindset, because the mindset that I had was, I'm not asking nobody for nothing unless I really, really need it. And I really don't have, I'm not asking anybody for anything because I saw it as a sign of weakness and failing. And what I have had to learn, and the universe is making sure that I learn it. So I want to learn it so I can stop going through these doggone tests. But what I have learned is there's a difference between asking for help and asking to be enabled. And I was put through that test like minutes after Soul Sunday last week. For those of you who tuned in, you remember me talking about the fact that entrepreneurship will humble you. It will cause you to go ahead and start asking people for things that you need to get done. And I was hit with that test within minutes of Soul Sunday being over. I ended up with 3 emergencies that they had to be done, or there were going to be some consequences. And while I sat here trying to figure out what to do, the universe brought right back to my mind what I said a few minutes beforehand. I was like, oh, okay, fine. Already. And so I put a real small post out last Sunday. I didn't make a big deal. I didn't let it have the extra colors or none of that. But I put one little post out to say, okay, I got some emergencies. Inbox if you think you can help. 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, 2 of those issues were handled. That's all it took. The third issue has not been handled, but, and again, this is something I've talked to with Ruby offline. I believe it's because it's going to be answered a different way. And so it's going to be answered a different way. But the benefit I got in that, the people who helped, 2 of them said not to even pay them back because they wanted me, and this is what I want some of you to hear. They said, you put and pour so much into other people. Let this be some of what comes back to you. And so for those of you who have that same independent mindset that I do, I have a feeling that most of you are also the givers, whether it be your time, your money, your listening ear, your advice, your heart. You're probably also very giving people. And what I want you to hear is sometimes when you're in this particular phase of life, this is when the seeds that you sown come back and harvest for you so you can keep going. And so it's really important that you don't allow yourself, especially if you run into a situation, and I have to, where I did ask a couple of people, and the first thing they wanted to say was, well, I told you didn't need to quit, and I told you shouldn't have left that job, and, you know, they haven't hired anybody else yet. You know, you could get the job if you want. You've probably run into those people and just said, I'd rather just figure it out myself than listen to that again. But I'm telling you that there are people out there who do want to help you, who are here to just say, hey, this is what I need you to do. This is what I want you to do. Here's this money. Do what you need to do. I believe in your vision. I believe in what you're doing, and I want to see you make it. You do have those people. The ones that you've run into, even that's a lesson. They're just letting you know who's not for you in this stage of life. And that's okay. It just lets you know who not to go to for support. Not a big deal. So wash that off and just understand that you are being retrained to understand that if you do need help, it's because you need help. It's not because you're asking someone to take care of you. So that was the biggest change for me.
Right. And while she was thinking about that, of course, with us having this, conversation offline, I also told Allison sometimes, well, with entrepreneurship, it's not always about the success of it. It's more so about building more so of a tribe. Because, of course, back in the day, everybody had their own business, everybody had their own thing that they were doing. And if they needed anything, they would go to this person. Hey, well, maybe we can barter this, or maybe we can trade that, and whatever and whatnot. And that was before a lot of people got into this whole employee mindset. That's a major difference too, because when you think about in being an employee, if you see somebody else working the same job that you're working and they come and ask you to borrow some money, or they come to you for help or something like that, you're gonna look at them like they crazy, like, wait a minute, we working the same job, ain't nothing I can do for you. You become more selfish. Not, please don't take that out of context.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to prove a point here. Don't don't miss the point. That's all I'm saying. But when, as an employee, and you're working and you're making money, it's almost like, because I'm working, then you should be working, and that means I don't have to help you. And it's just like, cool, if that's the way you think, then cool. But just know, when it come around back around the other way, just like you got a job and I got a job, I'm gonna feel like I don't need to help you. Whereas as entrepreneurs, we understand, we don't struggle. I'm not even finna sit here and claim that. We do things differently.
Yes.
And by us doing things differently, then we understand what it's like from that mindset. We understand that some days are up, some days are down. We understand that if I got it and you don't, I can give it to you, because I know that you'll give it back,
Mhm.
because you know exactly where I'm coming from. You know exactly what I'm going through. And, sometimes, just like Allison said, being an entrepreneur, you find out who's for you and you find out who's not for you. You find out who you can go to about certain things and who you don't need to go to. And at the same token, um, she said it a little while ago about the word no. On that flip side, if you're an entrepreneur, well, when you were working and you were used to people coming to you and borrowing money and asking for help and all this other kind of stuff, and you gave it because you had it, but
Mhm.
now you're to the point where you're tired of giving it,
Yeah.
guess what? As an entrepreneur, you ain't got no choice but to say no and not give it.
Mhm.
And then what somebody gonna say? But it's just that, it works both ways. I enjoy being an entrepreneur for so many reasons. And I can guarantee you, the last reason is rolling in the dough. Because right now I ain't rolling in nobody's dough right now. That's not to say, I'm not out here living. I have a roof over my head. I have my family. I have my time. I have so much more happiness and peace. And I ain't got to deal with the cold weather if I don't feel like it. I ain't got to deal with nobody attitude at work. I ain't got to deal with management telling me I got to do this because, financially it makes sense. And I just got to do it because it ain't my company. I ain't got to worry about, just like I said, I saved 20% by switching to entrepreneurship. I mean, it is what it is. And don't be looking at me crazy because I'm looking at you crazy because you still working and I'm not. I mean, working for somebody and I'm not. Trust me, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I'm cool with you working your 9 to 5. Everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. And that's absolutely fine. Like I said earlier, we're not talking to you. We talking to those that are entrepreneurs or either interested in making the transition. It's cool. Um, let me see. Also, with being an entrepreneur, you just develop such a creative way of decision making and problem solving, because you have to think outside of the box. You can't go to management and say, well, hey, me and Keisha got into it yesterday. I need y'all to fix that. Y'all might need to move Keisha to another cubicle or something like that.
Mhm.
No, when, as an entrepreneur, when you have an issue, it's just like it almost immediately needs to be solved or fixed or corrected. It ain't no little mediocre stuff because you and Keisha don't like each other. It goes way beyond that. And you just have to learn to think outside the box, be open minded. You have to, stuff that you, and this is really getting into the whole concept behind the goddess ground. I'm really not going to go there today. That's a whole another show. But when you start making decisions about your business and as an entrepreneur, you need to pay more attention to that divine intervention, because sometimes the decision ain't always just black and white. You know, you have to learn to pay attention to things. You have to learn to keep your mind open and keep your eyes open. And you have to learn that messages and directions come from everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I remember one day sitting outside just looking in the ground, and I see some ants. And they pretty much, to make this story as short as possible, the ants were doing what they needed to do, and just from them simply doing that, I got a message. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you never know where that comes from, and you never will really experience that as an employee, because your mind is always so occupied with employee thoughts and employee stuff and stuff you got to worry about as an employee. Whereas in entrepreneurship, you take the time to refocus. You take the time to not work simply because you can and you understand that you need to. But I really don't want to go too far into all of that. That's a whole nother topic. And, you know, our time is about running out. Yeah. So I'm going to let Allison go ahead and chime in, you know, just a little bit more. Because actually, I have more stuff on this list and we didn't even get halfway through it.
So we doing a part 3?
Girl, we gonna have to do something. But yes, we're gonna be talking about entrepreneurship next week too. But go ahead, girl, go ahead.
All right, so let me see here. Tamisha says that was a really quick test of your faith. Yes, Tamisha, it really was. I was just like, really, universe? Like 5 minutes after I get off of Facebook Live, are you serious? I was like, okay, fine, let me just pass the test. And she was saying, yes, we do need to go back to bartering. She's completely with it. And she said that she's felt like we've taken the family aspect out of it, which is 100% true. We've just developed this all about me mindset that is really, really, really hurting us. And so the part so the part that I'll talk about related to, I'll stick with the signs. I'm going to talk about the signs part for a second. So the thing with me is, one thing that I have learned is how to pay more attention to signs, not just look at everything as a coincidence or something that needs to be brushed off, because it really is, in fact, a sign. And I'll even go back to the emergencies that popped up last week. There was another emergency that popped up the week before that was taken care of. But here's where I'm able to pay attention to why things are happening. Even in the middle of all that stuff, number one, I still feel peace. A year or so ago, if I had the same situation come up, even with the fact that I had a job making that amount of money, I would have felt uneasy. I would have been stressed. I wouldn't have been able to sleep. I would have, it would have just affected my whole day, whole body. But even in the middle of these emergencies that popped up, I still feel peace. So that lets me know I'm on the right path. I'm doing exactly what I need to do. So just get through this. And so the other thing that I've learned is, what I'm doing right now, and this is for, all of us entrepreneurs, whatever challenges you're facing right now, what it is asking you to do is start building habits. I already know the season that I'm in right now is the short season, because I know that I'm
that's on my list. See that? Habits.
This is
signs. I see a sign. Now let me stop.
You're being asked to develop habits. So here's where it is. It's working for me, and hopefully it will for all of you too. I am going to be a millionaire. I am going to be successful. I am going to be a multimillionaire. I will be speaking to hundreds of thousands of people on anything from relationships to self-love to finances. I'm going to do that. But the same way we see those lottery winners who are broke in a year, it's because all they did was get extra money to keep doing the same bad decisions. So what you are being designed to do now is how to have a habit so that when the extra money and when the extra success starts to come in, you've already developed habits that are so airtight and so much a part of your psyche that you won't see that extra money as a chance to go blow it. You're going to continue the same habits, which will now allow you to keep it and build upon it and invest in you, invest in your business, invest in other people. That is all this is designed to do. And so that's one of the first things that I've learned. The second thing is I do pay attention to what's happening. And I've shared this with Ruby as well. When those emergencies came up, now keep in mind, I have other, I got several other things, financial, whatever, that are going on. And, I'm learning how to balance everything out. But has anybody been in a situation where, let's just say, I'll talk about maybe 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had all of these bills due and I got a bit of money, but it wasn't enough to take care of everything. So I didn't really know what to use it for. So one of the things that has happened with this last emergency that happened last weekend, the universe, God took care of all that. When the money was given to me, when I was blessed with what I was blessed with, it was the exact amount of what I needed to take care of other bills. So I didn't have to wonder, what is this money supposed to go for? It was the exact amount. And so I knew where it was supposed to go. The universe will speak to you like that if you're listening. And so this past weekend, I received a very unexpected donation from a really, really sweet man who was just like, I really believe in what you're doing. I don't want anything from you. I'm not trying to do anything with you. I just want to do something to help you. And so I actually talked to Ruby about it. I said, I got this. I need this. So this is meant for something, but I guess it's not meant for what I think it is. So I go and look up the numerical, the spiritual meaning of that number. And the spiritual meaning of that number was that I'm going in a new direction. I said, oh, so this is seed. Got it.
Right.
I put it in my nightstand. I'm waiting to see what God wants me to do with it. But my point in bringing all of that up is, when you decide to become an entrepreneur, when you decide that you're going into these situations, the very first attack that's going to hit you is financial. Because that's where most of us are fearful. We're afraid of being homeless. We're afraid of being without lights. We're afraid of our car being taken. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of those things. And so money is what is going to hit you first. You're going to have those attacks with money. And what you have to do is be strong in where you are spiritually. If you still feel peace, I still feel peace. I haven't gone without food. I haven't gone without lights. I haven't gone without gas. I haven't gone without anything that I need. And it's because I have stayed peaceful and recognized, as long as I'm at peace, I'm doing the right thing. When I start to feel my spirit shift, it means I need to do something different. But I also learned to open my mouth and ask for help. I've learned to open my mouth and ask for help. And what the universe has done is also give me the unction of who to ask, so that I do get what I need, and that I don't get the put downs, the discouragement, the fearful answers. They guide me to who I need to speak with. And so it worked out that way. And so I just want to encourage you guys, if you're being hit with money as an entrepreneur, you are on the right track, because all that is done to do is design you or fear you back into your 9 to 5. And that's not what you want. If that's what you wanted, you would have stayed. So just understand, you are not going to go through anything. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to become successful and still have great credit, or become successful and not have to move out of your place. Some of those things are collateral damage, but it's nothing that you won't rebuild from. But this is the moment where you learn exactly where your power is. Is your power in you wanting what you want, or is your power still in the hands of consumerism, fear, bad habits, and bad decisions? That's all this is designed to do. That's all I got.
Right. And while she was talking, at this point, I believe in people scared to take on entrepreneurship because they're afraid of what it's going to reveal. they're afraid of the responsibility that they're gonna have to face some stuff that they ain't been forced to face over years because they've always had a job.
Yep.
But that's another story for another day. We might talk about it next week.
Okay.
But trust me, entrepreneurship is not for the weak, not for the weak-minded, not for the mentally weak, not for the emotionally weak, not for the spiritually weak. And y'all go back and watch our live from last week when we talked about entrepreneurship and the chakras. Why it's important. You need to balance those chakras before you think you about to become an entrepreneur or
Yes.
do it full time.
Yes.
Go back and watch that. Next week, let's see. We'll continue. Next week we'll continue to talk about entrepreneurship. But we might, throw in some little mental wellness in there because I think we need to start discussing that too, because you have to be mentally stable when you're becoming an entrepreneur. You can't just be out here emotionally and mentally all over the place thinking you about to be successful. No. But we really appreciate you all for watching these last few weeks, especially with us discussing entrepreneurship, because we know that a lot of people don't really get into I balance chakras for others. I do the same thing too, Terrence, but hey, the more of us that's out here that's able to do it, the better. Because
Absolutely.
there's not enough of us out here doing it.
And that's so
But with us talking about entrepreneurship, there are not enough discussions about entrepreneurship from this particular aspect, other than here, join my company. No, that's not for everybody, no. But we thank you all for tuning in and for watching. I actually have a 14-day employee to entrepreneur boot camp that the next 3 people, actually I'm only accepting 5 people. So you know what? I'll do the next 5. If you want to sign up for that, then I'm actually doing 50% off that particular program. So if you're interested in that, then reach out to me. But of course, like I said, next week we'll continue the conversation with entrepreneurship. You can find me on Instagram at Ruby D Artistry, RUBIDARTISTRY. My website, www.thegoddessgrind.com, where you can purchase either of the first 2 books or both. You can schedule your chakra consultations, or you can inquire about my next cycle for one-on-one coaching. Let me see. I'm on Twitter. I really don't do Twitter like that. I have a Facebook business page, but I always post from here. Let me see. Am I missing anything? No, that's pretty much it. I'm actually in the process of downsizing a lot of things, and just to keep it simple, so I'm going to keep that there. Allison?
I am actually in the process of consolidating myself, so I'll just give you a few as well. That another one of those mindsets. You got to start making things simple. You can't make everything complicated. So you can continue to connect with me on Allison Denise on Facebook, as well as Be Still and Move, the page and the group. You can also connect with me on the Rise Financial Education group on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm slowly picking that back up. That's under Be Still and Move. And Instagram right now, you can look for me under Miss Allison Denise. Let's see. I will be on tomorrow night on week 2 of my first attempt at live shows. So you can from 7 to 8 tomorrow night and every Monday for Be Still and Move Live. Is it this week? No, we still have a couple more weeks left before Happy, Healthy, and Healing. I was thinking
exactly.
About that. You can catch me on Facebook Live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday around 8:15. Wednesdays, I may have to come on a little bit earlier. I'm doing something for me on Wednesday nights, and so I may bump it up a bit. Fridays, I am still continuing to and will continue to be a member of the Bad Squad. You can catch us on Fishbowl Radio Network under the Green Stream. Shout out to Tate, our fearless leader, myself, C. Renee, and Demo. We are there Fridays from 9 to 11 Central, 10 to midnight Eastern. And if that's not it, that's just enough. So
But as she did mention, happy, healthy, and healing. Of course, myself, Allison, and Miss Tara Jackson, we discuss mental wellness, real conversations with real solutions. Once a month, every last Tuesday. This month, it'll be April 24th, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central Standard Time. So be sure to look out for that. We will see you all next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hope you have fun. That's it. So we're gonna see y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye. Peace. Wait a minute, it didn't stop. My girl, I thought it was stopping, but it didn't. Sorry, y'all.